Ma'am, get away from the car. Put your hands where I can see them.
This is my vehicle. What exactly is your reason for stopping me?
Look, we received a report about suspicious activity. ID, now.
I'm a state Supreme Court justice and you have no probable cause.
I don't care who you claim to be. Hands on the hood.
Listen, call your supervisor right now, officer.
It was a scorching hot Tuesday afternoon in downtown Savannah, Georgia. The sun was absolutely hammering down on the parking lot right outside the fancy Bayside Plaza, shining brightly off the expensive cars parked in perfect lines. You could smell the hot tar from the road mixing with car exhaust, all blending in with the smell of fresh coffee from a nearby stand. Right in the middle of this busy scene stood a black woman, dressed sharply in a nice blazer and a silk shirt. She looked totally calm, holding her keys and carefully putting her shopping bags into the trunk of her black sedan. "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle," a rough voice shouted from behind her. She turned around and saw a young police officer. His badge was clipped to his chest, and his hand was hovering nervously near his gun, his eyes squinting with suspicion. "Is there an issue, officer?" she asked nicely, but with a kind of steady confidence that showed she was used to being in charge. "There's been a report of a suspicious person in this area. I need you to back up and show me your identification," he replied, his voice sounding stiff and rehearsed. She raised an eyebrow, already noticing a second police car pulling up nearby, its lights flashing silently but urgently. "I am loading my own car with things I just bought. Can you tell me exactly what suspicious behavior I'm showing?" The officer paused for a second, then just repeated his order, making the whole thing more tense. People shopping nearby started to slow down, peeking over their bags and whispering to each other. A few of them pulled out their phones, filming the interaction from a safe distance. The woman kept her hands right where he could see them, moving slowly as she reached into her purse to get her wallet. Inside, she had her driver's license, her work credentials, and a gold card with the seal of the Georgia State Court of Appeals. "You see, officer, everything I am doing is completely legal. I have two choices here. I can do what you say under protest, or I can stand on my rights," she said smoothly, looking him right in the eye. The officer's jaw clenched. In his head, he'd gotten a call about a suspicious person, a vague description that sort of matched her standing near a luxury car. But here she was, totally calm, not bothered at all, and clearly able to prove she belonged there. Still, he called for backup because he didn't want to admit he might be unsure. The sun reflected off the hood of her car, and you could hear a kid laughing somewhere far off. The quiet buzz of traffic made the background sound super tense. This misunderstanding, which started small, was looking like it was about to blow up into a huge confrontation. Shoppers stopped, recording and whispering, feeling nosy but also kind of awkward. "You're going to wait right here while I check this out," the officer said, stepping a bit closer, his hand touching the side of her car. The woman nodded and spoke softly but very clearly. "I will comply under protest, but I want it on the record that this stop is happening without reasonable suspicion and has no legal grounds." A look of worry flashed across his face. Around them, it felt like the whole parking lot was holding its breath. Just parking a car had turned into a high-stakes standoff, and the truth about who this woman was would soon make this whole situation look absolutely ridiculous. Can you even imagine being in her shoes at that moment? You work hard your whole life, follow all the rules, and you still have to deal with this nonsense just trying to buy groceries. Her name was Justice Evelyn Carter, a 54-year-old judge known all over Georgia for being fair and strictly following the law. She grew up in a regular working-class neighborhood in Atlanta and saw firsthand how unfair things could be for people who were pushed aside by the system. Since she was a kid, she decided she wanted to be a lawyer, determined to make a world where fairness mattered more than how much money you had or what you looked like. Her path wasn't easy. She went to Spelman College, getting top grades even though she didn't have much money, working part-time jobs to pay her bills, and volunteering at legal clinics on the weekends. After law school, she worked for big-time judges, took on huge civil rights cases, and slowly built a name for herself as a lawyer who wasn't afraid to challenge powerful people. Her decisions on the state court had often been a big deal, but they were always based on intense research and a deep sense of what was right. She had run courtrooms that exposed corruption, protected people's rights, and demanded answers from politicians who thought they were untouchable. Officer Brian Hayes, on the other hand, was 28 years old with 6 years on the job. He had joined the Savannah Police Department right out of the academy. He was eager and wanted to move up, but he didn't have much experience dealing with complex situations involving regular people. His file actually had several complaints about him being too aggressive and profiling people, though he'd never really gotten in trouble for it. His bosses said he followed the rules well, but noticed he tended to make things worse instead of calming them down. He had learned to rely on his gut and assumptions, especially when the dispatch calls were vague. Hayes's mindset was shaped by training that focused on being on guard and acting fast, but he hadn't really spent much time around different types of people. He believed in being strict and was terrified of looking weak in front of other cops or the public. His past run-ins with minority suspects had given him this hidden bias, a belief, maybe without him even realizing it, that looking a certain way meant you were suspicious. While he could follow procedure, he often missed the obvious signs that someone wasn't doing anything wrong, assuming the worst until he was proven wrong. The difference between them was huge. Justice Carter, with decades of legal knowledge, was patient and knew her rights perfectly. Hayes relied on reacting and assuming he was the boss. The meeting of these two people in that parking lot was a crash of two different worlds, one built on law and logic, the other on rules and feelings, and neither fully knew what was really happening yet. Her calmness that day came from years of dealing with the legal system and fighting unfairness. She knew things could get ugly fast, that who she was might complicate things, and that keeping a clear head was the only way to handle it. Hayes, meanwhile, just saw a black woman near a fancy car that vaguely matched a description and saw a chance to take control. It was a dangerous mix of bad judgment and hidden bias that was about to set everything off. The air in the parking lot felt heavy. Justice Carter kept her hands where he could see them, slowly putting her last bag in the trunk. Her wallet was in her hand, ready to show ID if he asked. "Officer, here is my driver's license and my court ID. You can check them right now," she said, her voice calm but serious. Hayes glanced at the cards, and for a second he looked doubtful, but he shook it off. "Step to the side while I call for backup," he barked, grabbing his radio. Within seconds, 2 more cop cars showed up, lights flashing. People turned their heads, some whispering, others filming. One guy leaned against a car, his phone capturing everything. A woman nearby asked her friend, "Why are they calling more cops on someone just parking?" Carter's voice stayed steady as she talked to the officers surrounding her. "I am doing exactly what you say, but I want this documented. There is no reason to escalate this." She held her court ID so everyone could see it. The crowd got bigger as people realized what was happening. A teenager sat on the curb filming. A group of ladies stopped shopping to watch. You could feel the stress in the air. Just unloading groceries had turned into a public show. Hayes stood stiffer. He couldn't admit he was unsure in front of the other cops and the crowd. He wanted to look like he was in charge. In his head, hesitating meant he was weak. Carter had years of experience commanding respect in a courtroom, but here in the parking lot, the rules were twisted by bias and pride. "Please stay calm and step aside so we can verify," Hayes said again, though he sounded stressed now. Carter's hands stayed visible, her movements slow and careful. Every move she made showed how calm she was compared to the chaos around her. The crowd could sense it was wrong. Whispers turned into loud grumbling. Phones were recording from every angle. The crowd's reaction made the cops nervous, their eyes darting between Carter and each other. This wasn't private anymore. It was a live show of a confrontation caused by bad judgment. Carter was calculating everything perfectly. She knew every move and every word could be used as evidence. She stayed poised, knowing the crowd and the cameras were recording the truth. Hayes, afraid of looking useless and stuck in his assumptions, pushed deeper into the conflict. It wasn't just about following rules anymore. It was about his ego. Even as things got out of control, he couldn't stop. The moment came when he motioned for Justice Carter to turn around. The metal handcuffs clicked on her wrists as she listened, the sound seeming super loud in the sudden quiet of the parking lot. Her eyes stayed calm, looking around, noticing the faces in the crowd. The phones were up. People were whispering in disbelief. The back of the patrol car smelled like old coffee and cleaning spray as he guided her in. His grip was firm, but not rough. Carter's mind was racing. It's honestly heartbreaking to think about it. Standing there in handcuffs when you've dedicated your life to the law. It just shows how quickly things can go wrong when people stop thinking. Every action, every word, every witness was going to matter. She thought about the legal steps she would take. Meanwhile, the officer's confidence was shaking. He was starting to feel unsure as he drove her to the station. The sound of the engine and the radio chatter made the injustice happening inside the car feel even heavier. Outside, the crowd was still there. Phones recorded her walking to the car, capturing her dignity against his show of force. She knew people watching was part of it, but having witnesses made the whole thing seem even crazier. Every person watching was a silent reminder to the officer that people would be looking at this arrest closely. The ride was super tense. Carter didn't say a word, sitting up straight. She was thinking about every legal right she had. Meanwhile, the officer was going from defending himself to doubting himself in his head. He was trapped in a situation he made worse. His fear of looking weak had pushed him down a road he couldn't easily turn back from. The drive to the station felt like it took forever. The clock ticking, and the radio noise just made the unfairness feel like it was happening in slow motion. Carter's hands were cuffed, but her mind was free, planning her next move. Hayes gripped the steering wheel tight, realizing that the legal and ethical trouble he was in was getting bigger by the second. Inside the car, the difference was obvious. Carter was calm and planning. Hayes was tense and defensive. Outside, the world was watching. Every detail, the handcuffs, the smell of the car, the look on her face, would be evidence of what went wrong that afternoon. The holding room at the Savannah police station was plain, with buzzing lights and the smell of cleaning supplies. Justice Carter sat there handcuffed, but looked like royalty, scanning the room calmly. She put her court credentials on the counter in front of the desk sergeant. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez, a veteran officer with 20 years of experience, walked up looking confused. "Who do these belong to?" she asked quietly. Carter looked up peacefully and said, "I am Justice Evelyn Carter, a member of the Georgia State Court of Appeals. All my ID is valid and real." The sergeant's eyes went wide as she looked at the ID, noticing the official seal. Rodriguez picked up the phone and called the court to check. Within minutes, they confirmed it. Carter was exactly who she said she was. Officer Hayes, standing nearby, felt a wave of pure panic. His hands shook a little by his side. He realized he had messed up big time. He had arrested one of the state's top judges for no reason, letting his bias do the thinking. The room felt heavy. Every second made the situation feel more serious. Rodriguez turned to Hayes, her voice steady but strict. "You understand how serious this is, don't you?" He swallowed hard, unable to speak. The room felt like it was shrinking. Carter stayed calm, moving deliberately. She asked for all the documentation: the call report, body cam footage, dash cam video, everything. Each piece of evidence would prove the misconduct. Hayes looked pale as he watched her take control of the situation. Her calm authority made his actions look reckless and undefensible. Rodriguez put a hand on Carter's shoulder, letting her know they were fixing it. Officers started uncuffing her and returning her things. The tension in the room shifted as everyone realized the truth. Injustice had almost won, but the truth came out. Carter stood up tall and spoke to the room. "This isn't just about me. It's about making sure there is accountability. I will take legal action, and I want everything documented." Her words hung in the air, a reminder of the consequences when bias takes over. As soon as Justice Carter left the room, she started organizing her legal attack. She made calls to her team, civil rights experts, and police accountability groups. Every instruction she gave was to make sure this didn't get swept under the rug. They filed a complaint within hours, listing every detail. The video footage from shoppers was put together with the police videos to show exactly what happened. It proved she was detained wrongfully, and that the officer escalated things for no reason. The public reaction was huge. Social media went crazy when the clips went online. People were outraged. The news reported on how ironic and serious it was that a judge was arrested for nothing. An internal investigation started at the department. The findings were bad for Hayes. His actions broke the rules and were influenced by bias. He was put on leave. The city tried to settle quickly, but Carter wanted change, not just money. She demanded policy changes and better training. Because of her, policies were rewritten, and officers got better training on bias. Her case became a perfect example of how standing up for your rights can change the system. And honestly, it's pretty satisfying to see someone stand up to a bully and actually win, isn't it? This story is a perfect example of the laws that protect us from illegal stops. Under the Fourth Amendment, you can't just be detained for no reason. Stopping someone without reasonable suspicion breaks the law. Also, the story shows how implicit bias works when people judge others based on stereotypes without realizing it. Because of her race and the car she was driving, the officer assumed she was a threat. We have to train people to stop thinking like that. This incident also teaches us what to do. If this happens to you, stay calm, document everything, and know your rights. Recording the interaction and getting witness info is super important. Justice Carter's story shows that being prepared and knowing the law can turn a terrible moment into a chance to make things better for everyone. In the end, true dignity isn't about what you drive or what you wear. It's about how you treat other people. Judging someone based on their skin color or how they look doesn't say anything about them, but it says everything about your own character. We have to be better than that and treat every single human being with the respect they deserve. That is the only way we move forward as a society.